It felt like I was making a mistake, made me feel unbelievably weak, and I hadn't felt more relieved in a long time. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Cafe Haru Studio podcast. I'm your host, Lilia Mickey, and this week I really want to talk about quitting. So recently I quit my job. It was a job that felt like it would have been one of the biggest opportunities of my life. I worked on it for about 6 months, and I can't say too much about it, honestly, just because of NDAs, but it was the type of project that most people in the film world want to be on, and 6 months in, I quit. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I stepped away, but I knew that it was the right decision for me because I felt immediate relief when I made that decision within myself. Long story short, I just wasn't in an environment where I was maybe doing my best, and I didn't feel like I was showing up as the best version of myself. So in the best interest of the project and everyone, and myself included, I decided to step away. What I didn't think that would happen was that making that decision made me feel unbelievably weak. It felt like I was making a mistake, but at the same time I hadn't felt more relieved in a long time. Quitting for me wasn't an on-the-whim decision. There was a lot of things that occurred and happened, and it built up to the point where I felt like I needed to step away. And I thought I was gonna feel relief and safe and brave after making a decision like that. And a part of me did, for sure. But a part of me felt really weak, and like I had failed a bunch of people and failed myself. And the reason why it took so long for me to make that decision was because I was so anxious and worried about making the wrong decision. I was so afraid of losing an opportunity or stepping away from a project of a lifetime, and I felt really broken. I felt like I failed myself, and I remember I called my best friend and I asked him if I was being stupid to step away from a project like this, and if I was being weak because I was stepping away and not pushing through and trying to get through to the other side or overcome this obstacle. And he told me that it's kind of the opposite, and I consciously believe that too. I think that quitting was one of the bravest things I could have done, but it also feels like a cop-out, and I guess that both of those things can exist at the same time. I've always thought of myself as a strong person, someone who overcomes obstacles. I'm very stubborn by nature, and I love a good challenge. I grew up an athlete. I grew up with two brothers. It comes really naturally to me. So to give up on a fight felt really wrong in a sense, but I knew it was the right decision for me. And the thing is, I don't know if I have this answer to make yourself feel better when you quit something to keep yourself safe or to keep yourself sane or for your health or your rest or whatever reason it is. You don't even need a reason to quit. The furthest thing from the truth is that it makes you weak. And as someone who's really stubborn, I remember having a couple meetings regarding me stepping away and being reminded that it was an opportunity of a lifetime, and people would die to be in your position. And I knew that. I knew that was so true, and being the stubborn person I am, but also knowing myself really well, I had enough respect for myself that what I was doing was such a small sliver of what I could offer. And if I wasn't showing up as the best version of myself, and I was feeling miserable every day, and I was making other people feel miserable, honestly, like the situation, I kept showing up as this version of Lilia that I didn't like. I was anxious all the time. I was kind of an asshole, honestly, and I had no bandwidth because I was just at max capacity. I was full to the brim. And if you look from an outside perspective of an employer, you don't want someone who's full to the brim or doesn't have capacity. And I think putting myself in the shoes of the employer actually helped me overcome this feeling of inadequacy, and to make sure that I was giving myself a logical reason of why I was stepping away, and that it wasn't just at the end of the day to benefit me, but also to benefit hopefully everyone. I feel like growing up, we're told not to give up, to not quit or keep going, and hard work pays off. And I feel like that was so ingrained in me to not quit, because quitting means you're weak. Quitting means you're giving up. Sometimes that's not the case. And I experienced this a couple years ago when I quit university. I dropped out after my second year. I was studying to become a surgeon, and I quickly realized that the path of surgery, of studying for 10 years and then barely being in your career at that age, and that felt like it wasn't aligned to the path that I was supposed to take. And so I made the decision to quit. And a lot of people ask me how I did it or how I made that decision. decision. And to you, quitting might be the hardest thing to do because it feels really taboo. It feels like you're giving up, and it feels like you're doing a disservice to yourself. Like you're stepping away from an opportunity or a path that feels really aligned or feels like it's really clear for you and you have all these things lined up for you. In my experience, quitting and dropping out of university was the easiest decision. I think it would have been so much harder for me to stay in a path that didn't fulfill me, wasn't aligned to where I wanted to be or what I wanted to do, and to force myself to do that when there are things that I would much rather be doing, but also I'm much better at. That felt like a disservice to myself. It felt like I would have been disrespecting myself had I stayed. And quitting this project feels very similar. Even though I felt immense weakness that I hadn't worked through from quitting, I knew in my gut that continuing would have been a disservice to myself. It would have been disrespectful. If you were to take your circumstance and plant it in your best friend, what would you tell them? If they were saying that they were miserable, they knew in their gut that this path didn't feel aligned to them, would you tell them to push through it and not give up and keep going and work through it? No, you probably wouldn't. You'd probably just tell them to step away and go work on their dreams or to go do what they love to do because you want to support them. When I think about that, as much as it did make me feel weak, I gained this newfound respect for myself and integrity from quitting, from trusting my instincts and listening to my gut and listening to what feels aligned within my body and my path. Because honestly, life feels really long sometimes. Life is way too short to be doing something that you don't like, that you hate. It's been about 2 weeks since I quit and I still feel weak sometimes. And I don't know if that's ever gonna go away because I'm stubborn and quitting just feels a little bit sad, honestly, because you put so much work and effort into something and then to just stop. But what I've learned in the last 2 weeks is 1, I get to start a podcast. 2, I get to be present with my dogs. I get to take care of my partner better. I get to show up as a happier, more peaceful version of myself, which means I get to do more work that excites me and that so much more aligned in what I'm doing. Staying in something that doesn't serve you, whether that's a direct physical benefit or an emotional benefit, because at the end of the day, you know, we only have control over ourselves and we also only have ourselves to look out for. So if you aren't looking out for yourself, no one else is. And that's the harsh truth. And if you don't step in to stop these things, like if you push through and you try to do something and you're not looking forward to the other side, for a while, staying in the position that I was felt really degrading. I felt like I was losing pieces of myself. I'm definitely not telling you to just quit your job. I don't know if that's a financially smart decision or, you know, there's so many logistics. And I was just in a position of privilege to be able to step away from my job and have other work or support to sustain myself for a while. What I want to believe is that if you're in a position that doesn't feel aligned to you and you know that there's another path that feels more right or is calling to you, 1, I think you'll get signs, but 2, I think you'll know in your gut. And to be honest with you, I wanted today's episode to make you feel like quitting is brave. There are days and there are moments where I feel brave. I made 100% the right decision. And there are days where, of course, I miss it. Even if it wasn't fun per se all the time, I still miss it and I think about the what ifs, and that's normal. And I don't know if that's ever gonna stop because I think about that even with university, of the what if I stayed? You know, what if I got a degree? Even if I didn't become a surgeon or go to medical school, what if I got a degree? Where would I be now? What would I be doing? Maybe I would have more value to give to somebody. I try to be someone who doesn't live with any regret because right now, from a logistical standpoint, I question every day if I made the right decision. I think about the what ifs of these opportunities that were laid out in front of me. Even if it was school or this job, I think about the doors that I might have closed. But then the opposite always is true. Had I not stepped away, what doors would I have closed then? Or even just listening to your gut and thinking about how you feel in your body. I felt nervous to go to work every day because of the circumstances, and I felt really anxious every morning waking up. Now I wake up and I'm excited to start the day. I'm excited to do work and I'm excited to go on a walk with my dogs. I'm excited to live life and create the path that I know I'm meant to create, doing this podcast being one of them. I'm excited to be able to do this and have the bandwidth and capacity to. And I wouldn't be able to do that had I not quit. And so I know quitting's not an easy decision, and I'm not saying that you should, but if it's something that you've been thinking about and that's been stirring in your gut, I hope this is permission. I hope you see this as permission, because when I was 21 and I was really thinking about quitting and pursuing art, I was thinking about pursuing videography and photography. and I went to this snowboarding event, and I tried to convince all my friends to come with me. Nobody could, and so I went by myself. I knew absolutely nobody except for the photographer who was hosting the event. I didn't know her personally, but I knew who she was and that I wanted to be just like her. What she was doing every day, at least from an outside perspective, was exactly what I wanted to be doing. And I remember I had the privilege of talking to her that day one-on-one and with some of her friends. And I remember she looked me in the eye and she said, "You can do it, Lilia. You can quit. We all quit." And she pointed at all her friends who quit university. At the time, I didn't understand why she told me that, or why she would even believe a nobody 21-year-old like me that I could do it and pursue my dream. I still don't know to this day why she told me that. But what that interaction allowed me was permission and just really simple belief. Sometimes you just need one person to believe in you just a little bit. And sometimes it's even better when it's someone you don't know and someone who doesn't know you. So I hope this episode today, if you get anything out of it, if you get one thing out of today's episode, it's not quit your job on a whim, but I hope you know that I believe in you and that whatever your dreams are, you can make them happen, and that you're not crazy for having these dreams, and dreams are possible. Whatever you want in life and more is possible and probably waiting. I didn't mean for those to be affirmations. I hope you know that I genuinely believe you that's listening or watching, whatever you want to do in life, you can do it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, comment what your dream is, and I will be posting another episode next week. See you guys.